she said very clearly, "I will miss hanging out with you. You don't have to," I answered aloud. I tried to hide my disappointment. "If you don't like them anymore," I said, "just hang out with me. My friends are actually really nice." Her lips were so close to me that I could feel her smile. "I'm afraid it's not possible," she whispered. She let go then, but kept looking at me, taking a step backwards. She raised her eyebrows finally and said, She raised her eyebrows finally and smiled. And I believed the smile. I watched her climb up a tree and lift herself onto the roof outside of her second-floor bedroom window. 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 She jimmied her window open and went inside. I walked through my unlocked front door. Tiptoed through the kitchen to my bedroom. Peeled off my jeans. Threw them into a corner of the closet. A corner of the closet. That's sneakily a corner of the closet. 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 Near the window screen. Downloaded the picture of James. Got into bed. My mind booming with the things I would say to her at school. So that was the prologue. Or like the preview or whatever. So yeah, that was the preview. This. Well, hello there. Before we get into the video and all the fun stuff, I wanted to put out a little disclaimer because the book I'm going to be reading to you today has a part in it that is a little bit graphic, so I wanted to put a trigger warning for anybody who is sensitive to that sort of stuff. So, that being said, I just wanted to point that out and let you know there's going to be a graphic scene while reading today, so if you're sensitive, you might want to skip this one. And without further ado, let's get into the video. spontaneously combust. But if you consider all the unlikely things together, at least one of them will probably happen to each of us. I could have seen it rain frogs. I could have stepped foot on Mars. I could have been eaten by a whale. I could have married the Queen of England or survived months at sea. But my miracle is different. My miracle was this. Out of all the houses in all the subdivisions in all of Florida, I ended up living next door to Margot Roth Spiegelman. Interesting, they're in Florida. Can I use you? Also, if you live in Florida or anywhere on the west coast of the US right now, just know that I'm sending you all of my love, all of my support, at least emotionally, and that if you're watching this, it gives you the relaxation that you need, because I know you guys have been going through it lately. Sorry. Okay. Our subdivision, Jefferson Park. Our subdivision, Jefferson Park, used to be a Navy base. But then, the Navy didn't need it anymore, so it returned the land to the citizens of Orlando, Florida, who decided to build a massive subdivision, because that's what Florida does with land. My parents and Marco's parents ended up moving next door. He was encircled by blood. A half-dried fountain of it poured out of his mouth. The mouth opened in a way that mouths generally shouldn't be. Flies at rest on his pale forehead. "He's dead," Margot said, as if I couldn't tell. I took 2 small steps backwards. I remember thinking that if I made any sudden movements, he might wake up and attack me. Maybe he was a zombie. I knew zombies weren't real. But he sure looked like a potential zombie. As I took those 2 steps back, Margot took 2 equally small steps forward. "His eyes are open," she said. "We gotta go home," I said. "Thought you closed your eyes when you died," she said. "Mark, we gotta go home and tell." She took another step. She was close enough now to reach out, touch his foot, reach out, touch his foot. "What do you think happened to him?" she asked. "Maybe it was drugs or something." I didn't want to leave Margot alone with the dead guy who might be an attack zombie. But I also didn't care to stand around and chat about the circumstances of his demise. I gathered my courage and stepped forward to take her hand. "Margot, we gotta go right now." "Okay, yeah," she said. We ran to our bikes, my stomach churning with something that felt exactly like excitement, but wasn't. We got on our bikes, and I let her go in front of me because I was crying and I didn't want her to see. I could see blood on the soles of her purple sneakers. I could see blood on the soles of her purple sneakers. His blood, the dead guy blood. And then we were back home in our separate houses. My parents called 911. relaxation, she said, quite seriously. Even up close, the screen broke her face apart, but I could tell that she was holding a little notebook and a pencil with teeth marks around the eraser. She glanced down at her notes. Mrs. Feldman from over on Jefferson Court said his name was Robert Joyner. She told me he lived on Jefferson Road in one of those condos on top of the grocery store. So I went over there, and there was a bunch of policemen. And one of them asked if I worked at the school paper, and I said our school didn't have a paper. And he said as long as I wasn't a journalist, he would answer my question. He said Robert Joyner was 36 years old, a lawyer. They wouldn't let me in the apartment, but a lady named 𝘠𝘰𝘸𝘯𝘚 lives next door to him, and I got into her apartment by asking if I could borrow a cup of sugar. And then she said that Robert Joyner had killed himself with a gun, and then I asked why, and she told me that he was getting a divorce, and he was sad about it. She stopped then, and I just looked at her. Her face gray and moonlit and split into 1,000 little pieces by the weave of the window screen. Her wide, round eyes flitted back and forth from her notebook to me. Lots of people get divorces and don't kill themselves, I said. I know, she said, excitement in her voice. That's what I told 𝘠𝘰𝘸𝘯𝘚. And then she said, Margot flipped the notebook page. She said that Mr. Joyner was trouble. And then I asked what that meant, and she told me that we should just pray for him and that I needed to take the sugar to my mom. And I said, forget the sugar. And I left. I said nothing again. I just wanted her to keep talking. That small voice had the excitement of almost knowing things, making me feel like something important was happening to me. I think maybe I know why, she finally said. Why? Maybe all the strings inside him broke, she said. While I tried to think of something to say in answer to that, I reached forward and pressed the lock on the screen between us, dislodging it from the window. I placed the screen on the floor, but she didn't give me a chance to speak. Before I could sit back down, she just